What is up, guys? It's your boy Deuce coming to you today with a couple helicopter tips. So this is not an introduction to helicopters. All that stuff you can find on YouTube, done way better than I could do it for you. So just head around there, do some searches, look for some videos, and that's how you get started in the helicopter. A couple helicopter how-tos that I recommend that you have before you even mess with this video are things like the HUD explanations and stuff like that. You kind of need to know what all those dots and dashes are for in order to be effective in a helicopter. So basically what I'm going to tell you today is how I do it. It may not be right, but whatever. It's how I get it done. So I'm going to start with some game footage. Then we're going to go to the test range. I'm going to do a little bit of the exercises that I did to get good at the helicopter. And then I'm going to end with a couple tips and tricks that I don't think you're going to find anywhere else. It's stuff that I do that I think is effective. Stuff like in the scout or transport helicopter, you should always fire out one round as soon as you get in it, because that gives you an extra round of pods. You'll notice if you fire out one round, it'll start the little reload bar at the bottom right, so you'll have a reload waiting for you as soon as you tap your first set of rockets. So the first thing you really need to be effective in any of the helicopters is someone to repair you. I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but honestly you're just not going to get far unless you have some help. You can see in this game here, I wouldn't have done anything near as well if I didn't have that Asian dude healing me. Not racial profiling, but dude's name is Asian. But yeah, so there's basically the presupposition going into any game with the helicopter that you are the biggest target on the map. With that in mind, there are a couple different things that you need to do at all times. You should never land. You should never capture objectives with a helicopter. I'm pretty bad at this. You'll see me hovering over objectives all the time. It's just bad practice, dude, because you're going to get RPG'd. And that stuff is one shot. So you won't even know it's coming, and then you're just done. You're out of your helicopter. You should really only ever go close to the ground if you are dropping off people, and that should be immediately drop them off and then get out of there, or if you are attacking something. As far as attacking stuff, don't get greedy. You want to go in, one run, just fast and low, and then get out of there and turn around and come back if you have to. The only time you should ever actually stay in to finish a fight, because most of these guns on most of these helicopters won't actually finish a whole fight for you with one rocket salvo, unfortunately. So the only time you should ever do any of that stuff is if you know that you are just completely outmatched. Like if it's a transport truck or something like that, stay in there and finish them off. But just be cognizant that that transport driver might be an engineer with an RPG and it might end your day. So a lot of stuff to consider there. You need to be diverse too. You need to not be in the same place for long at all. You need to be all over the map, because basically if they can predict where you are, they're going to fire at you. I guarantee any place that you're going to go on the map, they're already going to be targeting you and looking for you to fire at you, so you need to be out of there as soon as they know to look for you there. Use cover, stay dynamic, try and be unpredictable, and then try and not stay in the same place very long at all. Alright, so now we're headed over to the test range, and I'm just going to show you a couple of exercises that I did before I even went into a game. It's really hard to learn to fly while you're in game because there's just so much enemy presence that it's just almost impossible to learn what you're doing. Also, you're going to waste your team's assets and they're going to hate you for it. So the test range, you can crash these things as many times as you want until you feel like you're comfortable. And then these are just some suggestions. These are just the little like practice runs that I made up for myself. I mean, do anything that makes you feel comfortable. If you notice a weakness, find a way to practice that and then just repeat it till you're good at it. This is when I was just starting out, all I was trying to do is hover over flags or land at certain spots. And I probably did that for a good 2 or 3 hours before I was even confident enough to attempt anything crazy like a bridge run or anything like that. The bridge run is cool because it does a couple things for you. It really gets you familiar with the dimensions of your helicopter. And you notice with the transport helicopter, I always fly it outside because I just think that's the easier way to do it. I think it gives you a lot more perspective and there's no reason to be in your HUD because you don't have to aim. The other two I try and always fly inside because you need to use your reticule, so you need to be familiar with that. The biggest thing that the bridge trick taught me was how to make sure that I'm level just by looking at my aircraft without having to really go through it a lot. The other thing is the inertia that travels forward and inertia canceling. So as you notice, I'm flying completely level when I go under there because that's the only way you can get under there, but you're still going forward by the momentum that you've already built up. So that's an important thing to realize. Another thing that you have to consider, as a rule of thumb, I always try to imagine the helicopter as twice as long as it actually is, because you'll notice that tail is going to get caught under there. When you start getting actually through it and you start pulling up, you're going to catch that tail on the bridge a couple times. I guarantee it, unless you're just awesome at this. But yeah, so just remember that you have a huge tail behind you, and that's going to do a lot in game too. Like tight turns in buildings, you'll notice that you consider your tail a lot more after mastering this exercise. And then a couple more things when you're on the test range and you're doing strafe runs. So a strafe run is basically just spinning in a circle around something as you fire at it. You really get a lot of situational awareness. You'll see a couple times where I just know that there's stuff on the map I need to avoid, so I just kind of pull up about that time and just swoop out of the way. But it also gives you a lot of control over your helicopters, because it's not easy to do, and it gives you a lot of 3D thinking too. When I first got in the helicopter, one of the biggest problems I had is I just thought it was any other vehicle, like you have to be facing forward to go forward and all that stuff. As you can see here, that's not the case. You can get sideways momentum just as easy as you want without ever having to turn in that direction to do it. And so that'll really help you with your flying, because it'll make you more multi-dimensional. And even if you watched any of my other videos, you can see me actually flying backwards a little bit. I don't recommend doing that unless you're really in trouble, because it's pretty hard to do. And that's one of the only times that I'll ever pop into third person in one of the helicopters that has weapons, because that's just difficult to do. There are a couple other situations, like when you're landing, sometimes it's nice to pop into third person so you can see everything around you, so you're not getting RPG'd from the back and stuff like that. So the bars is another one that I made up just to kind of get me familiar with inertia canceling and how the helicopter, the physics and the mechanics of it all. So basically your objective here is just to make an S through those little bars, and when you're doing that, it really teaches you kind of the dimensions of your helicopter and what you have to do to cancel out all your inertia, things like that. So this is kind of a pro tip right here. This is repairing your helicopter from your helicopter. You shouldn't really have to land to get out. Just give yourself enough altitude, and even if you hit the ground like you see here, you'll just float softly. Now this is a trick that I don't think most people know. You're not going to find this too much. The damage model for impact is different if there is no one in the pilot's seat. So you can see here, I was not in the pilot seat and my helicopter was fine. Here I am at almost the same angle in the pilot seat and you can see me explode. So that's something to consider. You will crash and explode way less if you hop out of your pilot seat before impact and then hop right back in. You would not believe. Alright, so this is a cool little missile trick that I developed. Normally, you can only take out about 2 vehicles with all of the hydro rockets that you have on your helicopter. It takes about a pod and a half to take down a vehicle. If you switch into your gunner seat and use a TV-guided rocket on your target, then you can do it with 1 pod. So it takes it from you being able to destroy 2 vehicles to you being able to destroy 3 vehicles. So that's another cool thing that I have for you guys. If you want to know anything else, let me know. If I'm a dick and I shouldn't have done this, let me know. Whatever. Alright guys, take it easy, fly safe.